Hi, my name is William Raby, and I'm an attorney with Matt Cohen and Associates, a law firm in Chicago specializing in special education, disability rights, and human services law. I'm here today to talk a bit about special education evaluations and how you can use them to get your student more services in school. So what is an evaluation and why would you want one? Well, students with disabilities are entitled to appropriate supports and services to make sure they are able to access their education to the same extent as non-disabled peers. In the law, this is called a free appropriate public education, or FAPE. And basically what it means is that students with disabilities can get extra services to help them make progress in school. To get these additional supports and services, a student must first be found eligible for special ed services under an individualized education program, or IEP, or a 504 plan. In order to get an IEP or a 504, your student must first be evaluated to determine if they have a disability that's impacting their education. So how do I know if my student needs special ed? Well, this is a broad question, but a few areas I'd recommend you look at are academics, behavior, and related services. Academics is the most familiar to parents and what many people think about when they think of special ed. Is your student struggling with grade level reading, writing, or math? It's important to understand that this isn't as simple as, is your student failing? And a school should not automatically deny an evaluation just because a student is getting passing grades or doing better than some of their peers. Look beyond their letter grades. Compare their grades and test scores. Are there specific issues or skills that they're struggling with? Maybe compare their tests and homework assignment grades for discrepancies. Do they do well when they have unlimited time at home, but struggle when they take the test? Or maybe your student is struggling with homework. They might even be refusing to do it at home because they think it's too hard. Perhaps a teacher has expressed concern that your student's falling behind some of their classmates. These are all indicators that your student is struggling and needs some extra help to make progress in school. Another area to look at is behavior. Does your student act out or get in trouble a lot? Do they have trouble paying attention in class or following directions? Maybe a teacher has mentioned to you that they often have to remind your student to stay on task or to start their assignments. Or is your student socially isolated at school? Maybe they're having trouble making friends or they struggle with communicating with classmates and teachers. These are all indicators that your student may have a disability that's manifesting through their behavior. Finally, special education services include related services like speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and social work services. Your student may need special education services if they have an issue in a related service area that's impacting their academics. Do they have trouble gripping a pencil or cutting with scissors? They might need occupational therapy for that. However, it's important to note that generally you can't qualify for related services without an IEP for educational services. So you'll have to tie it to their education. So these are a few examples of ways that you might be able to tell your student needs special ed. But if they're really having any issues at school, you might want to consider requesting an evaluation. Okay, so I think my student might need special ed. How do I get it? Well, I just told you, you need to request an evaluation. An evaluation can be requested by someone at school, like your student's teacher, or by a parent or guardian. If you're making the request, I recommend you do it in writing so you have a copy for your records. The easiest way is probably to send an email to the principal or case manager. Once you make a request for an evaluation, the school has 14 days to respond. If they deny your request, they should explain why they don't think an evaluation is appropriate. If they agree to do an evaluation, there will be a domain meeting to discuss what evaluations need to be done, and you'll have to give your consent for those evaluations to be completed. So make sure to give your consent. Once the domain meeting takes place and the school receives consent, the evaluations must be done within 60 school days or before the next school year if there's less than 60 days left in the school year. After the evaluations, the team will meet again for an eligibility meeting. The district must hold this meeting within the 60 school day timeline that I just mentioned. And at the meeting, you'll review the evaluations and the team will decide if your student is eligible for special ed. If eligible, there will be another meeting within 30 days to create the IEP. If your student isn't eligible for an IEP, the team should also consider a 504 plan. If your student isn't eligible for an IEP or a 504, The team members from the school should explain why they do not think your student needs special education. It's important to understand that as the student's parent or guardian, you're an important member of the team throughout this process. So you should speak up and participate as much as you can. And you're allowed to challenge this decision if the team says your student isn't eligible and you disagree. How do you challenge that decision? Well, the first thing you'll probably want to do is get additional evaluations that have different recommendations or different findings that support your view. If you disagree with the school's evaluations, you have the right to request an independent educational evaluation, or IEE. If the district agrees, an independent evaluation will be done at public expense, which means you don't have to pay for it. However, if they disagree, they must file for a due process hearing to show why their evaluations were correct. A due process hearing is a complicated legal process, so you may want to talk to an attorney before going this route. Another option is to get private evaluations done outside of school and provide them to the team. If you can afford to pay for private evaluations out of pocket, or if your insurance covers evaluations, you might want to consider going this route. The school team must consider any private evaluations that you submit. However, they aren't required to agree with the results or follow the recommendations. So what now? Well, if you think your student needs special ed, you should send an email to the school requesting an evaluation. As you may have realized while I was talking, it can be kind of an extended process, so you'll want to get started right away. If you have any questions or concerns about requesting an evaluation, preparing for the eligibility meeting after evaluations are done, or challenging the school district's decision, whether it was to not evaluate, if you disagree with the outcome of the evaluations, or there was a denial of eligibility, you can contact Matt Cohen and Associates at 866-787-9270, or find us online at www.mattcohenandassociates.com. Thank you and have a good day.